live, and oh, there we go. Now it's live. All right. So as far as attendance goes, Leah Mon is here, and then Holly is here, and Brittany. Right.
Yep.
All right. And then, do you guys just kind of want me to do the discussion, or did you have any ideas to where to start, or should I just start at the questions? We'll just start.
That
Sounds good.
So for the first video that was against the same-sex marriage, what principles of effective speaking did you see in his speech?
I noticed that he paused quite a few times, but I thought it helped like emphasize his points. I don't know, like he didn't talk so fast you couldn't understand him.
Yeah, I feel like he had passion. You know, you
Yeah.
could see how he felt, and that he really felt what he believed. And I think you can feed off that. You know, he's not just reading up from his paper. So I thought that helped.
Right. I don't know. I struggled with that because I don't feel like it was very effective at all.
Actually, watching the second one, like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, and then you watch the second one, you're like, oh, whoa. So I think, you know, almost going through each question can be kind of hard because it lumps, you know, the concept. I think the assignment made a good point. You could see
Right.
what they were kind of showing us, you know.
Well, and in the first video, you could see the people in the background, what their faces looked like. Like, they looked so bored. They're like, oh my gosh, we have another one of these crazy religious people in here, and I don't even want to hear.
People were leaving. Like, I saw
Right.
lots of people leaving and moving around.
Well, and then I was shocked, and I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I'm a convert. I'm not very familiar with the Bible yet, but when he quoted that verse, whatever verse it was, about like how like homosexuals should be put to death. Did you hear that part?
Yeah.
I was like, I can't believe he just said that. Like, that's not effective. Nobody's gonna listen to you if you're like saying we need to kill all these people. You know? Goodness sakes. So that's kind of a hard question. I guess I would just agree with you guys that as far as effectiveness, he did pause and stuff, but I don't think it was effective at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we live in such a secular world that you have to, and this is what the class is pushing, you have to have backup. You can't just say, you know, even though our testimonies drive us and the testimonies create who we are, like the outside world needs the facts. They need the personal part. People don't want to go to church, and so they don't want to have church come to them type thing, you know. So when we're talking to the world, we need to make sure, or in discussions like this, that we're making sure we have the personality and the background, and you know, kind of like what we've been learning in the material this week.
Right. Well, and I think it's so, sorry, Holly.
No, you're fine.
I think it's so unfortunate that people like that get the most attention as far as the religious side of the argument, because I don't believe the things that he was saying. I don't think we should put these people to death, or, you know, I obviously believe it's a sin and that we shouldn't legalize it, but there was a really good transcript or interview that Elder Oaks did that I read in my Family Foundations class, and he talked about homosexuality as an affliction that is the same as somebody who's afflicted with a big anger problem or something like that, and it's about controlling it and not acting on it. Because the sin isn't in the temptation, the sin is in the action. And I really like that, and I wish people would judge us based on that kind of mindset, instead of the mindset of what this gentleman seemed to be saying. And I don't know, I kind of get frustrated at people like that, because I feel like it gives us, like, these people who have really rational arguments but who are also religious, a bad rap.
Yeah.
Okay. Holly, did you have anything to add? I feel like I cut you off. Sorry.
Just what Brittany was saying, that, like, starting with religion and God, and just the verses he chose were not effective. They were really like bold, like, you know. So maybe, yeah, backing it up and not starting out that way would have helped him, or helped people hear him, want to hear him.
And I think they, like you said, like you look at the background, they completely toned him out. Like
Yeah.
either people are listening and they're getting mad, or they're bored and they're not listening. It is like
Yeah.
3/4 of the people, you know. And so, you know, he
Yeah.
tried and he had heart and he believed it, but it wasn't very persuasive.
Yeah, because like the two people behind him, there was an older guy and then a lady. If you watch them in the second video, you can tell that they are so for the other guy.
Yeah.
You see them nodding their head and actually paying attention.
And they clapped. They clapped at the end, and the other people just were like super quiet after he talked.
Because I think if you're sitting on the fence, you're not moving. You know, I think maybe the people that have really strong against it could agree with him. Be like, okay, I see where you're coming from. People don't agree with him, didn't move, and the fence I don't think moved either.
Yeah.
I think it kind of didn't move.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think that people who agree with the concept, like, you know, like me, myself, I agree that it's a sin and that we shouldn't legalize a same-sex marriage, but the way he came off, it seemed like so much more than that. It seemed like he was really condemning the person, and that he was talking about, like, I just couldn't get over that whole comment of putting them to death in the scripture that he quoted about it being punishable by death, and I did not agree with that, and I don't know, it would be hard, it would be really hard for me, but I would be afraid, if he was running for office, I would be kind of afraid to vote for him, because he seems kind of like super out there, even though he's religious, you know? I would be like, cool, you're religious, but I don't think you can make any policies that are actually going to help, you know? So I think even the fence sitters and then even people who want to be on this side, I don't think people could be on his side, even if they wanted to. You know?
And I think what's really interesting, we've got to remember when we are trying to be persuasive, it is not just effort, because he researched, he was prepared, he had thought through this, and he was ready, but it still wasn't good. It wasn't like he just wasn't prepared and didn't try. He tried. So we have to realize that maybe in our papers and things like that, there's a lot more than just heart that has to be behind it.
Right.
Easier said than done.
Right. That's a good point. All right. So the next question is we kind of already talked about this, but it says, what is the basis and or the premises for his stance? And it was obviously religion. So. And that's, you know, a no-no now. So, you know, I wonder if, like, back kind of in the olden days, if the religion argument was good, and it probably was. I think back then, you know, in the 18 or 1900s, people considered that, but now it's just totally ignored. So.
You know, though, like, I was watching a little bit of, like, politics right now, just the debates and stuff, and I'm going to paraphrase it really bad because it just came on my mind, but someone was talking about how one of the people running were against abortion because it's a religious thing, and he's like, okay, you know, and they were kind of dogging him for being religious, and he's like, and he just talks about how his religion makes him a better person. His religion is you're glad he has a religion because he is a bit more grounded and a better person. You know, so I think you have people respect your religion and you can bring it up, but you just gotta do it and have facts and make it a whole package. You know, you can't just go off the religion.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. Okay, if you were on the fence when it comes to same-sex marriage, how would you feel after listening to his speech? I definitely would not want to vote for him if he was running for office. I'd be, I don't know. I just imagine myself sitting in that room on a committee who was working really hard to advocate for, not same-sex marriage, for not legalizing that, and I would just have my head on the table with my eyes shut, and I'd be like, he just ruined our whole platform. Like, there's no way we're gonna get this audience after that, So,
Yeah.
pretty damaging. I wish people.
I.
I'm sorry.
Oh, so no. Go ahead.
I wish people would realize that they are damaging the argument a lot more than they're helping it. And if they really wanted to make changes and stop people from legalizing gay marriage, they should just be quiet. Because it alienates the audience, and it pushes them to the other side.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, after I listened to him, I felt scared. I don't know, I felt like this scared feeling. I don't know. It was so intense. Not in a good way.
Right.
Yeah, it was like you were nervous more than empowered.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could see that for sure.
All right, and then the last question is, what was less effective? But I think we've covered that very well.
Yeah.
We beat him up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so for the advocate number 2 that was for same-sex marriage, what principles of effective speaking did you see in his speech?
He definitely gave that narrative, that personal narrative, and that just like you're falling for it, and then you're like, wait a second, no, I'm not, But he did a fantastic job of doing the personal narrative.
Right. He was engaging. I thought he was exciting to listen to. I was interested in who this guy was, honestly. And which was kind of weird for me because I knew what he was advocating for, and I knew he was raised by 2 moms, and I thought that was really weird, but he seemed like a really, cool guy. Like, this is somebody I want to get to know. And so I think that having that kind of charisma is also important, letting the audience get to really kind of know you.
He was really bringing me in, and even though I'm very very strong on my stance, I'm like, whoa, like I'm falling for you, and so he did a really good job that way.
That's how I felt too.
Yeah. All right. What was the basis or the premises of his stance? I liked how he started off right off the bat talking about the other argument. He said, a lot of people say that children, I don't know, maybe I watched it a couple days ago, so maybe I have it backwards, but I felt like he started out addressing the other arguments that kids can't be raised by same-sex parents. And he addressed that right away, saying, I was raised by same-sex marriage. I'm this cool guy. I'm very charismatic. I know you guys like me, and I was raised by same-sex marriage, or same-sex partners. And I think right then he hit the other argument in a way that made him look really good. So, I don't know. Did that make sense? That was kind of
weird.
Okay.
No, I agree.
So, I really his own experience, and he knew the research, and he applied it to himself, and he said, "Look, I'm doing well. This is what's true." So I think he really focused on kind of the story of self in that argument. Do you guys have any other thoughts, or should I move on?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, move on.
Yeah, it's late. Let's see. If you were on the fence when it comes to same-sex marriage, how would you feel after listening to his speech?
Just kind of what we've already said. We kind of all would be for it just by the way he was speaking, but then we catch ourselves and we're like, wait, no, I'm not for that.
Yeah. It's hard. I was discouraged. Sorry if I'm talking a lot. Did you have anything you want to say, Brittany? Brittany, did you want to add anything before I go? Are you still with us? Oh. Holly, can you still hear me at least?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know what happened to Brittany.
I don't either.
That was weird. But anyway, I guess what I was going to say is I found it really hard to argue with him, and that really frustrated me. I was thinking about what would I say after that? Like, if I were going after him, what would I say?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know. I don't know how you argue with something like that, where he was raised by two women, and he is obviously fine. And I don't know how to negate that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. Good way to put it.
Alright, the next question. I'm not sure what to do about Brittany. Hopefully she'll just kind of come back. What was less effective about his speech? Honestly, I couldn't find anything that was really not very effective. So.
I kind of felt like, I don't know if it didn't seem like he really had facts, so I felt like maybe it was a lot of bias, but I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, that is true. He didn't really
know.
talk about other families, and he didn't really talk about
it was all about him, which is good, but it's not like facts and it's not research, so I don't know.
That's true. He didn't use any research.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually brings up a good point. That you can make up for weaknesses by being really good in another thing. Mm-hmm. So, like, he was really good at the story of self, and telling and telling the story. He wasn't good at the research, and I think that's how the movement kind of beat us. Is they did. Yeah, sorry. Brittany's messaging me.
Okay.
Hang on a second. See if I can get her back in.
You're fine.
So I think that's important for us to understand too, that we need to make sure we have a balanced approach and that we're not just relying on one thing.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, let me see if I can add her back, invite her back in. Sorry to be pausing this.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so the article by Matt Walsh. What principles of effective writing did you see in this article?
One thing I kind of liked was his sarcasm. It was kind of hooking and engaging to me. I don't know, that was the biggest thing.
It was really nice to read. I don't know, maybe this is because I'm in school and I've read a lot of like formal text, but it was nice for me to read something that wasn't very formal. It was so, and I could relate to it a lot more than saying, this study found that these components, or whatever. He was like, okay, let's just be honest about what's going on.
Yeah, it was really personable.
Yeah, so that was really good.
And it was short, which is nice. It wasn't super, super long.
Yeah, it was. That was really good. The basis or the premises of his stance. I liked how he really focused on the family. He seemed a lot more like kind of research-based and like rational. He thought through what he was saying. Yeah. And he thought about the opposing argument, and who his audience was.
Yeah, I don't could tell that out.
Yeah, and I don't think that the other guy who was against same-sex marriage in the video, I don't think he thought about who his audience was at all.
Yeah. He just wanted to say what he wanted to say, how he wanted to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was a few quotes that I really liked. Basically, they were just saying that, let's see, that like marriage between a man and a wife is not equal to other unions. It's just different. And
I loved that too.
There's another one that says, it means it is not equal because equal by definition means sameness. Sameness by definition cannot apply to two relationships that are characteristically separated by such a vast and remarkable distinction. I really liked that one.
Yeah, I did too. Just to kind of interrupt, sorry, this for Sister Lake. Brittany doesn't seem to be able to get back in, and I don't know how to since she left and we're already live. So I think she's watching us right now, and she's going to be posting on the bulletin board, so hopefully that'll work. And then Ashlyn also isn't here, Sister Lake, and I tried to get a hold of her, so I'm not sure why she's not here, but anyway, sorry, Brittany won't come back. She's just going to post, so.
Okay.
Did you have any other quotes, or is that what you like?
Yeah, I had one more. It says, marriage is, or at least was, the context in which families are formed and maintained.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of people these days just think marriage is just so you can be recognized that you're living together and stuff by the states, you know. But to us, it's more than that. I don't know. I know this lady and she's gone through a hard time, and one of her friends on Facebook was just saying that marriage can't be eternal, or there's no such thing as like being together with someone for eternity. And I was just like, oh, it makes me sad that people think that, because there is such a thing and it is possible. It's hard. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it is possible. And that they are missing out on that opportunity is kind of sad.
It is. It's so sad because I find this super interesting. I feel like there's this dynamic in the culture saying marriage doesn't matter. You can just live together and be perfectly happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then also this selfish dynamic saying you can't be with someone unless you're completely happy all the time and it's super romantic.
Yeah.
And not, maybe I'm just still kind of a newlywed, so maybe I'm still in like the honeymoon or whatever, but I feel like what we offer with the truth of what marriage is and knowing that it's going to be hard, we in turn have such better and more satisfying marriages than what other people have. I feel so blessed for my husband and for what he brings into my life. Now I'm going to get emotional.
That's okay.
And I don't know what I would do if it wasn't forever. And
Mm-hmm.
yet and yet I go into the world and they say, well, that's not how you find the perfect marriage. Well, honestly, yeah, we have problems, but I feel like I do have the perfect marriage, and it's going to last forever. So it's sad that you're missing out on that.
Yeah.
So there's definitely blessings and power and a love that's cultivated in this atmosphere that the world can't even touch. And I wish people get that,
Mm-hmm. Well, they just don't take marriages seriously. They just think it's a thing that you do. Like, I don't know, this lady, her friend was just like, oh yeah, the marriage thing just didn't work out. Like, no big deal. But it is a big deal. Like, it's not a marriage thing. It's like, I don't know, it's way bigger than that. And for them to just think it's a little fling or whatever, and that divorce is not that big of a deal. It's just sad that that's what our world thinks.
Yeah, yeah, and it goes both ways. Marriage isn't a big deal, and then so they're apathetic in their marriage when they do get married, and then they're missing out. It's not very painful, but it's also you don't have any fulfillment or happiness. So I think that's an interesting dynamic. Okay.
Anyway.
Sorry.
No.
If you were on the fence when it comes to same-sex marriage, how would you feel after reading Matt Walsh's article?
I'd totally side with him. No,
Yeah.
I really liked his arguments and points that he made.
Yeah. What was less effective about his article?
I don't remember if he really looked at the other side. He kind of was just like, I mean, he knew what his audience was, but he was still like, I don't really care. I'm sticking to this, which is good. It can be good, like, but I don't know, like, I don't know if he really looked at the other side or brought any points to, like, relate. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like there was a lack of understanding about the other. And
what I'm looking for.
I don't think it was as damaging as, it could have been. But I think it's important to understand that these people who are for same-sex marriage, they really believe that they're in love. And they really, I try to remind myself, and it's hard, but I try to remind myself that, how would it feel if me and Jacob, my husband, if we weren't allowed to get married for whatever reason, because he had blue eyes and I had brown, or whatever, we're not allowed to be married. And that would be really hard because I'm in love with him. And this, I don't know if this is like proper Mormonism. I hope it is. That, I'm for the rights of, if I'm not for gay behavior at all, actually, but I'm for being nice to people and not, not giving them jobs and, letting them function in society. I'm for, and I think that's what the gay movement started out as a fight. You guys, we're getting
being treated like everyone else, like human beings.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm from Montana, and there was this big thing that happened in Wyoming where a 21-year-old gay man was murdered really brutally. He was tied up to a fence post and left there to die. And he was beaten and everything. And, that's the kind of stuff that the gay rights movement, I feel like, started from. But it turned into a lot more than that. So, anyway. What questions do we still have? I guess for me is, how do you argue against somebody who did have, was raised in a same-sex family and does seem to be doing well? How can you argue that it's damaging to the family effectively? Because that seems like super obvious evidence that our argument is wrong, I don't know how you...
Yeah, that's a good question. I couldn't really think of any, but that's a good question.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. Did you? I think it's been 20 minutes. I can't tell. Is there a time here?
Okay. I don't think there's a timer, but I think we're good.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add, Holly?
Nope.
All right. I'll go ahead and post the link to the discussion board. And I don't know how you guys normally do it. Next week, I'll be driving home. And I already talked to Sister Lake about this, so I actually won't be in the group next week.
Okay.
So I'll just remind you guys that on the board too. So.
Okay.
Well, thanks. This was a good conversation. I'll see you later.
Okay, bye.